Hello and welcome to Not Fake News. We have an article here out of Liberty Writers from Danny Gold. Breaking: bombing in Pasadena, California. Here is what we know so far. It's at the Cheesecake Factory. America may be in shock after the election, but that is no excuse for the media to ignore the terror attack that just took place in a cheese factory in Pasadena, California. Last night at 6:08 p.m., an unidentified attacker threw a homemade explosive device into a crowded restaurant in Pasadena, California. Thank God nobody was hurt in the explosion. The attacker has been described as a tall, thin, Middle Eastern or Hispanic male wearing all black. Police are currently looking for any information that could lead to his arrest. Pasadena police detectives are currently handling the investigation, and out of an abundance of caution to the federal authorities have been notified, a Pasadena police statement said. Man throws bomb in Cheesecake Factory. From Always Broadcasting Crap, ABC News.
It's a frightening moment overnight as an explosion rocked a California restaurant. Police say a man threw a homemade explosive device into the Cheesecake Factory in Pasadena, sending panicked diners running. Heavy smoke filled the restaurant, but no one was injured. The suspect managed to get away. Witnesses say he was dressed in all black.
The war of words is heating up between President Trump and his apprentice replacement, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So the president used the National Prayer Breakfast to pray for Arnold and the dismal ratings on The Apprentice this season since the Terminator took the helm. But Arnold fired back his own zinger and a challenge.
They hired a big movie star, Arnold Schwarzenegger, to take my place. And we know how that turned out. The ratings went right down the tubes. It's been a total disaster. And I want to just pray for Arnold if we can for those ratings, okay?
Hey, Donald, I have a great idea. Why don't we switch jobs? You take over TV because you're such an expert in ratings, and I take over your job. And then people can finally sleep comfortably again.
Well, there's been no love lost between the two in recent months, particularly after Schwarzenegger announced back in October that he would not be voting for the Republican presidential candidate for the first time since becoming an American citizen 34 years ago.
I don't know why they went into that, but back to the Cheesecake Factory bombing. This is not okay. The media networks are hiding this attack because they know that Trump is right about terror. There is no excuse for this not to be on the front page breaking news across the nation. Even Facebook is trending it as Cheesecake Factory. It's up to us, the American public, to correct their mistakes by sharing this with everyone you know and making the truth known. Next article we have here is out of PJ Media from Tyler O'Neill. MSM loses their minds over Kellyanne Conway Bowling Green massacre slip-up. If she did make a slip-up, it would be the first one she's done ever that I've seen. Speaking with MSNBC's Chris Matthews Friday morning, Trump advisor Kellyanne Conway explained the terror threat of immigrants coming from Iraq. She attacked the media for not covering the Bowling Green massacre. Conway later clarified that she was referring to two Iraqi refugees living in Bowling Green, Kentucky, who were convicted of the terrorist activity. But you wouldn't know it from the headlines. Trump advisor cites non-existent massacre defending ban, CNN reported. Kellyanne Conway cites Bowling Green massacre that never happened to defend travel ban, echoed the Washington Post. Kellyanne Conway cites Bowling Green massacre that never has happened to defend Trump's travel ban, ABC reported. From Britain's Daily Mail, and here's the alternative news. Kellyanne Conway's invents Bowling Green massacre to defend Trump's immigration on live TV. And it goes on and on and on with all of that. They at least had the good sense to alter the headline to Kellyanne Conway on Bowling Green massacre. I meant terrorists. Many media outlets acted as though Conway specifically invented a false historical event to justify what in their eyes is an unjustifiable ban. Some even compare the Bowling Green massacre to the Nazis' fake news blaming Jews for the Reich's fire. Totally uncalled for. On February 27, 1933, the German Parliament Reichstag building burned down due to an arson. The government falsely portrayed the fire as part of a communist effort to overthrow the state. Using emergency constitutional powers, Adolf Hitler's cabinet had issued a decree for the protection of the German people on February 4th, 1933. This decree placed constraints on the press and authorized the police to ban political meetings and marches, effectively hindering electoral campaigning. A temporary measure, it was followed by a more dramatic and permanent suspension of civil rights following the February 27th burning of the Parliament building. Calvin Schroff tweeted, "We should all take Kellyanne Conway's Bowling Green massacre lie very seriously." Once again, what did she really mean? Speaking with the NBC's then, Trump advisor Kellyanne Conway explained the terror threat she attacked for media not covering the Bowling Green massacre. She later clarified that she was referring to 2 Iraqi refugees living in Bowling Green, Kentucky, who were convicted of terrorist activity. This is an administration that is posing a great challenge for journalism. In this, it is willing to stretch the boundaries and sometimes barrel right past the boundaries of truth on a regular basis, said CNN's Ron Brownstein.
The question of political semantics and what's slow versus stop. But this Bowling Green massacre, is there anything other than these arrests that we found of these 2 guys who arguably should not have gotten into the country, but they never did anything here?
Well, they were charged with desiring to send weapons to Iraq.
Back to Iraq.
So, no, there's nothing like this. You know, it got obscured by the doubts about Hillary Clinton, but nearly as many people in polling over the last year and a half have said that the question whether Donald Trump is honest as trustworthy as questioned Hillary Clinton's honesty and trustworthiness. And the fact is that, you know, this is an administration that is posing a great challenge for journalism. In that it is willing to kind of stretch the boundaries and sometimes barrel right past the boundaries of truth on a regular basis. And you do have this kind of polarization in the electorate where a portion of Trump's supporters are simply unwilling to accept any kind of correction, but not all. Yeah. Not all. And the fact is that he is standing at an approval rating today lower than any president this new in his presidency. And that says there are people who are listening. They are not totally immune.
That's not true. Trump's approval rating right now is high 60s%. High 60s%.
To reality.
But Matt Lewis, this is Exhibit A of why we need real news and real journalists like CNN and real organizations that will follow a story to where it really began and follow the thread, because she sabotaged her own point.
Everyone that's listening to this video, the people who listen to my videos, all know that CNN, ABC, NBC, CNBC, MNBC, ABCDE, they're all fake news. Completely paid shills from the Democratic Party. If you want the real news, you go to InfoWars, you go to PJ Media, you go to us here at Not Fake News. And that's where you go to get your news. You check on us, subscribe, click the bell next to it, and you'll have 20 different videos a day with real news that you can watch. This way you know what's fake and what isn't once you hear these liars spew their garbage. Let's continue.
Actually had a good point. Unfortunately, she made it fictitious. But there is a story here, and I have heard a lot of Mr. Trump's supporters mention this Bowling Green incident, and it is that there were 2 Iraqi refugees who got in and shouldn't have gotten in because their fingerprints didn't, hit on a database, or they weren't fingerprinted. The system has since been corrected because of this lapse in these 2 Bowling Green guys arrested in Kentucky who were Iraqi refugees. Because of the problem, the system was fixed. But that's not the story that she wanted to tell. But her story was not a real one.
Right. So there were 2 Iraqi nationalists who allegedly tried to send arms and money to Iraq. That's a big story, you're right. And that would have been a really good thing to cite, and it's persuasive. If you're trying to push Donald Trump's policies, it's a persuasive argument. That's why I don't think this was intentional. I don't think this was an example. Maybe I'm being naive here. I don't think this was Kellyanne Conway, trying to spread false news. I think this is an example of somebody who got it wrong, who messed up. She should have made the other argument. That would have been plenty good enough. So, I'm going to give her a little slack here. People make mistakes on TV, and I think that she just, I don't know if it was misspeaking or just getting it wrong.
Oh my God. Has hell frozen over? I'm checking my window. Any flying pigs around? I can't believe it.
Know that this was an intentional attempt to...
Look at him. Defending Kellyanne. Wow. And they say unicorns don't exist.
...invent a Bowling Green massacre that in fact did not occur.
I agree with you. I think she got it wrong. She didn't know all of her facts, but to suggest that the media would not cover a terrorist massacre, that is just so fantastical.
It is hard to cut her too much slack with this sort of lecturing, hitting us on the media, on the fingers with the ruler, sort of lecturing us about covering things. Yeah, that's a fair point. But as people who go on TV a lot, sometimes you make mistakes.
Sure.
I think that's what this was. I think it was a mistake.
Hold on a second. A mistake is something that you do once.
Oh, Tapper. Look at Tapper. He just had to join in and say something.
Forgiveness, all right? People make mistakes. I make mistakes. It happens.
What?
But I know, well, not as many as you, but I'm saying I make mistakes. What I'm saying is that this wasn't just once, okay? If you call me Frank once, it's a mistake. You call me Frank all the time, you obviously don't like my name.
I can't tell you how many times this James Tapper, or whatever the hell his name is, has lied, made mistakes, and made an utter fool of himself. I can't tell you. I can't count how many times.
So I think that's what we're seeing here. This Bowling Green, I get tweets about it on a regular...
You know what? He would know, wouldn't he?
...basis about all this BS about fake news, and we wouldn't cover this, and that's why we don't care. And it's almost always attached to another bogus story, and that's the problem.
Right.
When you give lies life, they take on a life of their own.
Absolutely. There's an ecosystem of these kinds of stories that are out there. And there's also kind of an attitude. Look at the president tweeted this morning fake news about the reports confirmed by administration officials only a day ago that the conversation with the Prime Minister of Australia was confrontational. I mean, and then today was saying, it was a civil conversation, and he said so, and thank you. What world leader anywhere in the world is going to say I was upbraided by the president and belittled? You immediately emasculate yourself and look weak to your local. So I mean, the fact is that we have journalism is being challenged here, and we've seen responses. The New York Times using language on the front page that we haven't seen. CNN in chyrons correcting as they. Everybody is going to have to evolve because we have a conversation with policy leaders that are going in a very different way than we've seen before.
And
Yes.
if you make a mistake, you have to own it and say you're sorry about it and then move on. That's something
Wow.
else that's in short supply.
Matt,
Wow.
Ron,
Can we
thank
hear him
you
say
very
that just one more
And
time?
then move on. That's something else that's in short supply.
That are going in a very different way than we've seen
It's a-
before.
And
Yes.
if you make a mistake, you have to own it and say you're sorry about it and then move on. That's something else that's in short supply.
Matt, Ron, thank
Kick this
you
guy
very
in the
much.
teeth.
We're not going anywhere.
President
You
Trump
think you're not.
promised a radical break from the Obama foreign policy.
Whatever. Huh? Does that remind you of anyone? Remember how the Benghazi attack was started by a video? Oh, and the media did an excellent job of debunking those claims and other lies of the Obama administration, right? But I digress. Luckily, Americans don't have to guess at what Conway was doing. Read below. Bowling Green terrorist Al-Qaeda in Kentucky U.S. may have let dozens of terrorists into the country as refugees, Conway tweeted, with a link to a story about an Iraq refugees arrested for plotting to send weapons back to their home country in an effort to support terrorism. Kelly and Conway tweets that, what we just said. Exclusive: dozens of terrorists may be in U.S. as refugees. Several dozen suspected terrorist bomb makers, including some believed to have targeted American troops, may have been mistakenly Trump responds to Allahu Akbar, Lavere terror attack. Get smart, U.S. Granted, this is no massacre, and this mistake is embarrassing. It was compounded by the Conway saying, I bet there was very little coverage. I bet it's brand new information to people. That President Obama had 6-month ban on Iraq refugee program after 2 Iraqis came here to the U.S. radicalized, and they made their masterminds behind the Bowling Green massacre. Alright, that's it for this one. And our last story here comes out of PJ Media. DC McAllister writes, Audi outed for promoting fake equal pay nonsense. Audi of America is jumping on the political correct bandwagon and running a Super Bowl ad that pushes the equal pay lies we hear too often. The car company's equal pay commercial flies in the face of the facts, creates division between the sexes, and fails to do what the advertisement should do, which is make people want to buy the product. The commercial shows a feisty girl in a drag race with boys after the father narrates spewing nonsense about how women are devalued in our society. What do I tell my daughter? Do I tell her that her grandpa's worth more than her grandma? That her dad is worth more than her mom? Do I tell her, despite her education, her drive, her skills, her intelligence, she will automatically be valued less than any man she has ever meets? Or maybe I'll just be able to tell her something different. The commercial ends with Audi of America is committed to equal pay for equal work. Progress for everyone.
What do I tell my daughter? Do I tell her that her grandpa's worth more than her grandma?
Wow.
That her dad is worth more than her mom? Do I tell her that despite her education, her drive, her skills, her intelligence, she will automatically be valued as less than every man she ever meets?
No, you just tell them that it's not true, that they are getting paid equal, and that this is a big false narrative created by the MSM and the left side, the Democrats. That's what you tell her. Just like my daughter knows. And you tell her don't buy an Audi. That's for sure.
Or maybe I'll be able to tell her something different.
Yeah, what I just said. So let's get something straight here. First of all, if Audi isn't committed to equal pay for equal work already, then its employees have a host of discriminating complaints to file with the EEOC because there is an anti-discrimination laws that protect people from this kind of civil rights violation. This was a point made on Twitter, forcing the company to defend itself and undermining the message of its own ad. Tuberfrog, when we account for all of the various factors that go into pay, women at Audi are on par with their male counterparts. That's whatever this person's name is, Tuberfrog from Audi. Let's get this a little bigger. I can't see this here. What is this going on here? Okay, so someone tweeted, "You pay your female employees less than males?" They tweeted Audi. "You know that's against the law, right?" And then they tweeted back, "When we account for all the various factors that go into pay, women at Audi are on par with their male counterparts." So they're basically undermining the message of their own ad. They don't even believe that. It's a talking point, and they were told to talk about it. Period. So let's get this straight, once and for all. We're not talking about equal pay for equal work. The issue is wage gap, and there is indeed a wage gap between men and women in America. You'll often hear the statistic that women earn 77% of what their male counterparts earn, but this is not actually true, according to Pew. Based on hourly earnings of both full and part-time workers, women earn 84% of what men earn. This has narrowed from 36% in 1980. For younger women today, the gap is even smaller, 93%. What then is the cause of the wage gap? According to Pew, it's not discrimination, but the fact that women are more likely to say they had taken career interrupt. Hold on. But the fact that women were more likely to say they had taken career interruptions to care for their family, and research has shown that these types of interruptions have an impact on long-term earnings. Surprise, surprise, the wage gap is caused by women's choices. Progressives are all about the women's right to choose, aren't they? Well, women, more than men, choose to interrupt their careers to take care of their families. "42% of women choose to reduce their hours worked to care for family members compared to 28% of men. 39% of women choose to take sufficient amount of time off compared to 24% of men. 27% of women choose to quit their jobs compared to 10% of men. 13% of women choose to turn down the promotion compared to 10% of men. Additional research shows that women will never make up half of the U.S. workforce because of their personal choices, not because of discrimination." And that's going to be it for this broadcast. Comment below. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Make sure you hit the little bell next to the subscribe button so you get the 20 to 30 new videos that we do each day. Give us a like. I really appreciate those likes. Thanks, guys. And share this with everybody. And I'll see you soon at Not Fake News.